Live. Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you so much to be here this morning. I really appreciate the community getting bigger and bigger, and I really appreciate the support that you come along to see us this morning on Zoom meeting with the Hillside Wine and Spirit and Regency Wine Nevada. Obviously, you're all part of the industry. You all, my salespeople, all my clients, and all really appreciate that you come along and actually share the passion with us. So today I am very grateful to have our friend Kale Anderson, part of my top winemakers in our portfolio. Kale, we met each other about 4 or 5 years ago. And Kale always, I'm always a huge fan of what Kale's doing, his vision of winemaking, and obviously producing those amazing super Rhone wines. So if you're looking for the Kale wine, they are definitely Rhone varietals, and that's what we're going to talk about today. They're all domestic wine made in Napa and Sonoma. And here we go. So this is Kale Anderson, my buddy Kale. Good morning. Thank you so much.
Bruno, thanhanks so much for having me. I have to
Thank
say,
you.
your hair's looking good, my friend.
Oh yeah. It's no haircut for a while, but I think it's pretty much due. It's due very very soon. Yeah, like everybody else. Yeah, it is.
Wait, I'm sporting the hat this morning just because, yeah, it's been about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months for me.
Very good. Well, thank you so much to be here. I don't know if your beautiful wife Ranko is next to you, but I want to thanks also to her, to you, to always support Regency and the Hillside Wine portfolio with your magnificent wines. So today we're here to pretty much know, for the people that don't know you and didn't met with you in the past, I'd be more than happy to listen a little bit more about your background, where you come from, where the passions come from. Tell us a little bit more about you, buddy. Thanks.
Sure. So, I've been working with Bruno and Regency and Hillside now for a couple of years. We're a small family winery in Napa Valley. The winery is just myself and my wife. We're without investors. We sell most of our wines through our website and through our club and whatnot. But we're just starting to make a little bit more wine little by little here, and we're happy to be represented by Bruno and his team. So really happy to be here. This is actually really efficient. This is a lot better than me flying to Reno, Vegas, and LA. We can kill 3 birds with 1 stone here. So
come on, at least great. Reno.
Although
So
I'd love to travel
your,
again. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, tell us about your background, Cal. Where the wine bug start, and where did you start working, and what was the first project that you worked with? And
Sure. So this is going. 2020 is my 20th vintage in the industry. Believe it or not.
But you're still a baby. How it can be possible? 20 years
I know.
already.
Hey, wine keeps you young. What can I say? It keeps you looking good, right?
That's right. That's why I'm keep drinking.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Trying to stay pickled here, so it's important. So anyways, yeah. Look, I caught the wine bug early on. I was lucky to catch the wine bug early on. I grew up in Sonoma County. Without any wine on the table, I went to UC Davis as a science guy, thinking I was going to do pre-med, but I decided to do on my second year. I took an introductory class to winemaking. For many different reasons. One of them being that you could actually drink on campus when you're under 21, which was an amazing thing at the time. But also because I had some other friends in the program, and a grad student convinced me to take a class. So it was kind of I got the wine bug as a kind of a college experience, if you will. Kind of stumbling into the program, and joined a bunch of tasting groups on campus, which was a lot of fun. And it was one of those tasting groups called Rhones Around the World that was my aha moment, where it was like, okay, like, terroir isn't a bunch of BS. This is real. I can get passionate about this. You know, same genetic material planted in Paso Robles versus the Southern Rhone versus Australia versus you know, some Spanish Garnacha that we had. You know, all brown bagged, and that was my aha moment. So it was the Rhones that first got me interested in the wine industry, that I could actually get passionate about it. So fast forward to the end of the program, I worked a bunch of internships, most notable being at J Wine Company in 2001. That was my first internship making sparkling wine, because I love to drink sparkling wine, but also it was close to home, and I could go back to school to finish out my degree because the harvest was over in September. So that was my first internship. My second internship was at Colgan Cellars in 2002, made some amazing wines. This was when Marco Bear was the winemaker there, so he was a great mentor for me. Then I took an assistant winemaking position at Terra Valentine Winery on Spring Mountain, which was amazing. You know, big mountain Cabernet. Helped Andy Erickson start his brand Favia, and started a lot of awesome brands over there. And another great set of mentors there. Then I moved on to Cliff Lady Vineyards. You know, first as their assistant winemaker, then associate, then winemaker. I was the winemaker. I was there for 8 years, and I was the winemaker there 2009, 10, and 11. And in 2008, when I was planning on taking a head winemaking position elsewhere, is when I sat down with Cliff, and I told him I was going to be moving on. He said, "Hey, what are your long-term goals in this industry?" I said, "Well, I want to start making my own wine." He said, "Okay, well, here's your bonus. You pay me 1 penny per year. You get your license, permits, all that good stuff, everything, you know, above water, above, you know, legit." And I made my first 5 barrels of Kale wines in 2008, which was
wow, what an incredible opportunity.
It was an amazing opportunity, and I'll forever be indebted for Cliff. You know, the deal was with Cliff that, you know, if I stuck with him, you know, he would eventually make me winemaker, and he would let me start my own wine in the back of the cave on my own time. So it was just a really fortunate situation. You know, he gets multiple magnums every year for helping me start my business. And you know, he held to his promise as well, eventually promoting me to winemaker there, which was a great opportunity.
When was that, the head winemaker position with them?
Yes, yeah. So I was the head winemaker there 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11. Yeah.
And where the Palmeyer come up to the drill?
Okay, yeah. So then, and then in 2012, that's when Jason Pallmeyer called me up, and he offered to meet, and we met. And he's a larger than life kind of guy. You know, not to mention that he's, you know, 6'5" or whatever, but he convinced me to join Pallmeyer as their director of winemaking in 2012. So in 2012 is when I took the director of winemaking position at Pallmeyer. Kale Wines had to fly on its own for the first time, but I actually had wine to sell at that point, so it was Kale Wines could fly on its own when I was actually selling wine, not just making it. Yeah, I was his director of winemaking 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
That's when actually Palmeyer got 100 points.
Correct. So we got them the first 100
That was your
wine.
first stop. That was your first year under the position of Palmeyer, and you get 100 points.
No, my second year. Second year. 13 was a great vintage, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, you know, when Jason hired me, you know, he had never gotten 100 points. Also, 2013 was the last vintage that Robert Parker himself did the ratings at the Wine Advocate, so that was pretty cool.
But what did you change? Because they never get 100 point, and what exactly you did in 2 years to make this wine obviously shining by the press? Of course, it's just the press. Just to people
so
tasting
we
wine, but
completely, so we did a line extension. So, the proprietary red was the flagship forever. We did a line extension called well, we were calling it the pièce de résistance line. There was 3 wines, one from the estate, one from, one was Malbec based, the estate was Cab based, and another blend which was Cabernet Franc based. And that line was more expensive, but I also changed the protocols quite a bit. We started doing a bunch of barrel fermentations, most notably to change the protocols for making that wine. That's how we made a bunch of great Colgan wines. So, I'd kind of taken some cues from mentors that I've worked with in the past, applied it to Paul Meyer to help them achieve their goals.
Good,
So,
good.
now fast forward, now they're bought by Gallo, so things changed.
That's good. That's good. I think it's amazing.
Everything.
Amazing background already. Now let's regroup and let's talk about today. As today, you obviously the owner of Kale Wines with your wife Renko. I know also by fact that you also the winemaker, consulting winemaker, I should say, for another property of us that we have in our portfolio called Chateau Potel.
Yes.
VGS.
Yep. VGS.
If the people doesn't know about this brand, is also amazing. And Kale is also the winemaker for this wine. Obviously, Jean-Noël Fourmeau is doing the blending and all that with Kale, but Kale is doing the hard labor and making this Chateau Potel. I have to say, since he took over for the past 2 or 3 years, something a little bit more defined, a little bit more bright, as you should test Chateau Potel again. So what else? What is the other project that you are working on, Kale? Very quickly before we go straight to the Kale.
Sure. So post Paul Meyer, so 2015 was my last vintage as a full-time employee for Paul Meyer. In 2016, I started Kale Consulting. So my first client was Paul Meyer. My second client was Chateau Potel VGS. They're based on Mount Veeder, big mountain Cabernets, but they also make, amazing Zinfandel. They have also a lower priced tier in the Potel 2, which is delicious. I feel like is a, fantastic value for Napa.
Yeah, that's true. A little touch to the Potel addition line. I believe Potel 2 represents exactly who you are as a winemaking philosophy, but also the value of the wine.
Sure,
everybody doesn't know about Chateau Potel 2 is a good. I think we will do another session on Potel at one point. But let's talk a little bit more about. Do you have any other client in this right now?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of Napa clients and a Sonoma client. The Sonoma client is called Domaine de la Rivière. They're very small. They're a startup. They own 30 acres off of East Side Road, so Russian River AVA. Beautiful site, just beautiful soil, all Pinot Noir from their estate. They also source a little bit of Chardonnay. We're making them a rosé of Pinot Noir as well. So it's just an amazing startup. Super excited about these wines coming down the pipeline.
we test the wine, and we really believe it's a potential with Chateau La Rivière. Really love the concept. Plus, I really love what you do, obviously, Kale. So I always will support the program if the opportunity come along, and if we can represent them later on.
Sure.
But yes, so what else? Let's talk a little bit more about the concept of Kale now. So obviously, Kale is your first name, and that's why
Kale, my first name. Very interesting name. We were when we were thinking about the brand. The story is that the Rhones were my original love. So it's a passion project. People ask me all the time when am I going to make my own Cabernet. The answer is, I'm not under the Kale brand. Kale, the reason why I'm in the wine industry is because of the Rhone wines. And that's what this brand is about. That's what this is, the original passion project. It's going to be pure to that original passion forever. So I make a bunch of different red blends under the Kale wines, some Syrah based, some Grenache based. The one that we're tasting today, the Kick Ranch, is always Syrah based, anywhere between 65 to 75%, depending on the vintage. We've been making the Kick Ranch since 2009, so the second year that we had Kale wines. This has been the one that we've been making from the very beginning. We make rosé now. We make a little bit of Grenache Blanc, but this is the original wine. It's also planted a quarter mile away from my parents' house where I grew up. So it has multiple meanings, as we call it, the home run cuvee. It's planted right next to the Rincon Valley Little League Park, where I grew up playing Little League baseball. So there's all sorts of sentimental value to this wine. The 2014 that we're tasting was a great year there. It's a really rocky site. It's unlike a lot of Sonoma County. It's on the very eastern side of Sonoma County. It's right on the Napa Sonoma County border. The official AVA is Fountain Grove District AVA, which I believe it's not the youngest, but it's like the second or third youngest AVA in California right now.
Yeah, it happened about 4 years ago, I believe.
3-4 years ago, maybe. It's a unique area. I mean, it's not Bennett Valley. It's not Petaluma Gap. It's not as hot as the Dry Creek area. So honestly, it's a little bit more like Napa. I would say it's a little bit closer to Spring. It's geographically, it's closer to Spring Mountain than it is to the rest of the Sonoma County growing areas. So there's not any. There's very few estate wineries in the area. It's almost all growers. So it's just not widely known or distributed. There's not a lot of wine made from the small AVA, but it's very rocky, very volcanic, very textured. The fruit tends to be very dark every year, not just the Syrah, but the Grenache as well. The 2014, we co-fermented with a little bit of Viognier from Kick Ranch as well. So actually, Bruno, this might be a good time for me to share my screen, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen. It looks like you prepare a little, I believe it's a little video surrounding the Kick Ranch Vineyard, just to have an idea about where it is and how it's located and where the Grenache and the Syrah and the Viognier are.
Bruno, it says host disabled, attendee screen sharing.
I did that? Okay, let me
Always causing problems.
Always, continue to talk. I will figure it out.
Sure. So, a little bit more about Kick Ranch. I mean, it's a gorgeous site. There's, Syrah and Grenache aren't the only things planted there. It was owned by Dick Keenan and recently purchased by a new owner, but he's investing a lot of money in the property, and it's fantastic. Really excited about the future there. There's a lot of different clones on the property. So there's clone 470 and a suitcase clone called the Hermitage clone. I get the Hermitage and the 470, which I believe, after, gosh, we've been there since 2009, so over 10 years now. We've been sourcing there, and we've moved around in the vineyard of where we source. I had a close relationship with the owner, so he moved me around into the clones and the rows that I wanted. So we have row designations at the vineyard where we agree upon a farm plan in January, February about how they will farm my rows in his vineyard, which is very cool. And he recently got California sustainably certified as well. So he's doing a great job for us out there. Bruno,
You have it?
no, I can't share the screen yet.
Okay. That is the first. Okay, let's talk about Kick Ranch was developed by this guy, I believe, Stuart Bailey in 1993. It was a very large.
This was it was bought by Dick Keenan in 1995, 97. It was planted by and developed by Ulysses Valdez, the late Ulysses Valdez, who passed away maybe a couple of years ago now. But he did a great job, spared no expense, and planted great clones. They spent a lot of money on the soil prep, which was really important in that area because it's so volcanic.
Can you try again?
Ooh, it's working. Okay, here we go.
I did have to have a little zip of wine just to figure it out. That's it.
Whoops.
Lubrication for your brain, huh, Bruno?
That's right. Technology, I'm telling you. Thank God we have wine. Thank God. Okay, so he's going to show us, it looks like a little video on the vineyard. Let's see if it works. Everybody's doing okay. Everybody have a glass of wine. Everybody's starting to enjoy this Kale wine. There you go. Salute to everyone. Thank you so much. That's what we call breakfast of the champion. It is definitely a wine in the morning. I have to be honest with you. I got my eggs and I get my ham, Spanish ham with this before I get to this wine. You do have to have some food a little bit with this wine.
For everybody, Bruno.
Okay. Sam does have actually. Did you prepare a little cheese plate for us?
Sure, I've got cheese.
Nice. So you can take a minute if you want, Kel, to figure out your screen. There we go. Look at that.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's right here. Good.
Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Let's see. Let's move this over here.
Yeah.
Here we are. So. Okay, can you guys see the map here? So I'm on a Google map. You can see Santa Rosa right here. This is can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Napa Valley right here. You see Calistoga. I've flagged the vineyard right here, 4903 Harville Road. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on it. The Napa Sonoma County line is like right here, right on the top of these mountains right here, the Mayacamas. So we're going to zoom in. Okay, so here's Calistoga Road, San Helena Road. The Napa Sonoma County line right about here. This down here is Santa Rosa. We'll keep on zooming in. There we go. So this triangle right here is Kick Ranch. So it's beautiful. It's all hillside. This is all kind of above the valley, going up the mountain right here.
About what, 2,700 feet?
Not quite that much, but it's over 1,000 feet.
Okay.
You can see the Rincon Valley Little League Park right down here. It's a beautiful vineyard.
How many acres?
It's a total of 75 acres. But I don't believe there's that much planted. I think there's maybe 65 planted.
Okay.
But right here, if you see where my cursor is, that's the Grenache. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so the Grenache is right here, which is the Albin clone Grenache. And then over here is right this corner all the way up here. That is the Hermitage clone. And then the 470 clone goes right up here to this is the staging area right up here. And this is the where the Hermitage clone is. You can see where the reservoir is right in the middle. Up here is a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc. The Viognier is right up here at the top of the vineyard, which is really interesting. I always use a little bit of Viognier to co-ferment with the Syrah, very traditional French style. So
Hermitage, Côte Rôtie,
yes,
those people use, but usually the Viognier, it's a fill blend.
yes,
With their Syrah, because at one point in France, they didn't have no notion the difference between Viognier and Syrah, and they just pick it up everything on the same time. It's a little bit of it. But here, which is intriguing, is they actually build the Viognier on a very specific site for it.
yes, and there is a standalone Viognier made from that block, but I get a little piece of it right on the tip that I use to co-ferment with the Syrah. I do not. There's one year that I co-fermented the Grenache and the Syrah, but normally I keep them separate, blend them later, age separately in different barrels, and then blend later.
So 65 acres, you say about, and how many acres you using for this cuvee?
It's about, let's see, it's a total of about an acre and a half, maybe acre 3/4 in total.
Small.
So very small production.
Small production.
Very small production. In fact, I made 293 cases of the 2014. So very small production. On the back label, I always list how many barrels I make of the vintage.
Very details back label for sure.
Yeah. And 2014, I have it right here. I did a little bit of whole cluster, 10%.
10% whole cluster, okay.
10% whole cluster. This ended up being 71% Syrah, 25 Grenache, 4% Viognier. This is by field weight. Because I used every drop that year, so I didn't have to declassify anything that year, which was great.
You usually pick it up at which break? You like to go to the vineyard at 23, 24 to pick it up your grapes? It all depends. The grape depends if it's a Grenache.
Depends on the year. 2014, I was able to get it fairly ripe. September 24th, so it was probably mid 24s, maybe 24.7 bricks. Nothing too crazy.
I don't feel the alcohol on the nose. I definitely not feeling the alcohol, and that's really what I love about those wines. They are very well integrated. 12 barrels were made, and we're 14.5%, and we are dealing with Grenache and Syrah, and we're dealing with obviously Sonoma. So definitely very well balanced.
Yeah, very well balanced, really nice, all natural acidity. So I don't normally have to acidulate this wine. 2014. I did not. It's great. It's naturally well balanced. I just, I try not to get in the way when I'm making the wine. I try not to get in the way of it. I try to do it unfined, unfiltered. In 2014, I did.
So unfined and filtered. That's why then most of you guys do see the sedimentation that we have in the glass.
Yes.
And this is normal. This is all natural. You don't have to be scared about it. This is something that you can explain to your client, obviously, and your patron, but it is definitely something. What's as a winemaker, tell us a little bit more about your philosophy, how you make the wine, what is your vision, why are you using natural yeast? Are you using, what is your conception of sulfite? What is also the definition of unfiltered and unfined? Why are you using those techniques? And what do you think this wine are so complex?
Right. So I'm trying to be as gentle as I possibly can. Now, I'm trying to intervene in the winemaking as little as possible. I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. If I can ferment it natively without adding any yeast, I will. I try not to filter or find certain vintages. If there are issues or the vintage calls for it, I will, just to make sure that things are stable. But in the good years like 2014, it's basically, a lot of testing and a lot of making sure things are going in the right direction and not overreacting and intervening. Sometimes it takes some gray hairs to make the good wine. Yeah, there's risk reward. And yeah, I try to do as little as possible. And because, you know, I'm able to I have access to using the best tools, winemaking tools, I'm able to push the envelope and take some risk in making the wine. You know, when I can make the wine with as little intervention as possible, those are the vintages that tend to be the best. You know, not just with Kale wines, but just about all the wines I make.
Yeah. What was the specification of 14?
14 was a great vintage. I mean, it was a fairly warm, dry vintage. I mean, it was it was in the middle of those drought vintages. I mean, drought vintages spanned from 12 through 16, 17. So, you know, very dry vintage, and it was an early bud break. So it was just one of those great vintages where, like 13, where we didn't have to do a lot. In 14, it was a little bit rainier than it was in 13. Early season, which meant that we were also allowed to dry farm. So we were able to farm this year without irrigation.
Wow. I think that's why I believe I feel in the mouth something very sharp, meaning that the acidity is bring over sometimes this heavy flavor of Grenache and Syrah, and it's pushing to the end. It's just magnificent. I really hope everybody then use a little aeration for your wine. I advise everyone to open the wine last night. You can see that it's a 14. We're in 2020. It's a 6 years old wine, but this one's still like a baby, especially for the Grenache and Syrah. And I really enjoyed this one very, very much. And I believe having the opportunity to grab your 2014 right now, it's definitely for these type of wines.
Yes, and you know, and this wine was very tight when it was young.
Yeah.
I think it's important to mention that when this wine was younger, it was very tight, and it was, you know, the tannins were not nearly as resolved as they are now. You know, Kick Ranch tends to need some time, some bottle aging time, to really smooth up. I mean, this was a very intense wine. You know, the fruit character, the dark fruit character, and you know, it's not shy on the tannin. You know, I do like to do fairly big extractions on the grapes when I can, and I also was able to do 10% whole cluster this year. So you know, there was a lot of intensity in this particular vintage where it needed to resolve.
And what was the aging process on this one?
So this was all French oak barrel.
Good.
25% new, 75% neutral puncheons. So very traditional in the Rhone to use those larger format barrels. So not 225 liter, but 500 liter.
Do you have any problem to get the supply of those 500 liters?
I have to special order them, and you know, now that I've had them for a long time, I have a little army of puncheons that I use now, specifically for this program. You know, I'm really trying to, you know, retain the freshness and the intensity of the wine. I'm not trying to get in the way of the fruit with the barrel. You know, between 15 and 45% new is about the right amount for Kick Ranch. You know, I found, you know, just through trial and error that that the Kick Ranch can handle a lot of barrel, but I prefer to not use too much. Okay. Because of the intensity, you know, I really want to preserve, you know, the intensity of the wine.
Well, the integrity of the fruit as well. Yeah, the integrity of the fruit, and yeah, That's great. That's really, really good. So obviously we're all testing the same wine. So the name of the game here is everybody want to take the lead about what they feel about this wine, what their first impression of the wine, and everybody want to share anything?
I'm going to go first because I got to go because I need you to go open the store.
Go, Karen. We don't want you to miss the opportunity.
Congratulations for opening the store. Thank the
boom.
Lord.
I love it. Love it. So this wine is delicious, and I did take your advice by opening it last night, Bruno. And I've already sold a case of it. So boom.
Nice.
That's
a great news.
Last night. So cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Very good.
Amazing.
So before you go, Karen, you want to hear about anybody else want to talk about this wine? What did they feel? What did they? What was their first impression? Anyone to take the lead? Wave your hand. I know Jake is dying to say something about it.
Dying? I've been having some microphone problems. Can you guys hear me okay?
Very well.
Awesome. Okay. Just some notes that I took. Intensity, it's moderate plus to powerful. It's a very, very intense wine for sure. Tons of just black and blue fruit. I get so much of that ripe, jammy blueberry in the nose. It comes and screams out so much. On the palate, same thing, right? You're getting the same kind of fruit characteristics. You're getting that acidity right on the mid palate. And then, like you said, Kale, like the tight tannin finish. But balance, right, really comes through. So yeah, a lot round texture, medium plus to full body, and a very balanced wine. So this is very cool.
Yeah, we definitely have great feedback right now with this one, and obviously I really never barely mentioned the writing, but we do have also some write up if you want to look at some of the magazine included wine spec for 91 points. Yes, Nico, you're here from Reno. Nico from Café Beaujolais. By the way, Cal, that was Jake. I don't know if you remember each other.
Yes.
Cal, Jake Gelson, marketing director at
Gelson.
Gelson. Always for a few weeks he's joining us, and really appreciate your support, Jake. Nico, Café Beaujolais in Reno. Go ahead. Hello. Do you like the wine?
First, I can't stretch enough the love I have for your wine, Kale. We carry about, I think, almost eight wine at Bistro, and it's great to make amazing wine, but the passion behind it's so incredible, and I commend you for that. You're an amazing winemaker, and I love your wine. The intensity of the wine, again, yeah, it's remarkable. It's fantastic. But also the balance of it, where it's not too aggressive to the palate. It's a wine that's phenomenal to drink with a saddle of venison, but also just as it is by itself is not going to kill your palate. It's very elegant. The cassis in it, the herbs, dry herbs that you find, in Rhone Valley. This one is incredible. I love it.
Thank you, Nico.
Thank you, Nico.
Keep selling it, my friend.
I can't wait to go back to Beaujolais.
Yeah, we did amazing.
I don't like that Zoom thing. I don't like that because you're not here with me, and
yeah,
we have to fix that soon.
Soon enough, hopefully very soon we'll resume, and we do one of this amazing wine dinner that we done last year. It was last year already.
It was last year.
No, it was beginning of the year.
Oh, it was beginning
January,
of this
year.
I don't track anymore.
Yeah.
I have no notion of timing anymore. It just that really put me under the. Also, Court here from Carson City in Nevada. I really appreciate that you come along today, buddy. I really do. I didn't see you for a while. You actually hiding your hair under the same.
Yeah, I'm hiding. I until our governor opens up more of the state, I'm not shaving or getting my hair cut. So
Court is the owner of Fandango Hotel Casino, I should say, in Carson City, and always a huge supporter of the portfolio. So I really appreciate that you're here. Thank you so much. What did you think about this wine, Court? You also a chef. I mean, you love to cook. You have this amazing book that it's in my kitchen. And I'm going to ask you what you're thinking about as far as food right now when you're drinking this wine.
Well, I gotta say, I'm at a slight disadvantage because Smitty did tell me I should open it 2 hours ahead of time, and since today we're the first restaurant in any casino to open up in Northern Nevada, and we're doing that tonight in my steakhouse. So I've been doing the press junket with all the news channels. So I didn't get to open it 2 hours ahead of time. I got to open it 20 minutes before we got on here. I know. But and then Smitty gave me the wrong number. I couldn't get on the thing. It was like, but
you here?
I'm really impressed. I mean, I think I agree with a lot of things that everybody's saying, although I'm probably drinking a little tighter than most are. But I think, I mean, for me, for what those varietals are, I think that the incredible body in there is what's really impressing me. The body of it, the balance of it. It's still a little bit tight because, again, I didn't open it that long ago, but I can feel those tannins in there. And I mean, this is something, and normally I wouldn't probably go down this road, but for me, you do this with like a lamb chop or a lamb lollipop or the rack of lamb, and it's going to be spot on beautiful. So, I'm really excited about it. I really enjoyed it. Enzo's laying here right next to me. He was sniffing it a little bit, but yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's got some great structure. I'm really impressed. I'm a fan anyway. I mean, Paul Meyer is one of my go-tos for all my players when it's like, hey, what do we want to do? Oh, let's just open a Paul Meyer. So it's really good. I'm excited to look at bringing it on board. I've depleted a lot of my wine since I've been closed for 2.5 months. It's been kind of coming home a lot. And
So it is. So the official reopening is tonight.
Yeah, the official reopening is 4 p.m., 4 to 9 every
At the steakhouse.
Sunday at just my steakhouse, because they did a weird thing. You're only allowed to open a restaurant and a casino if you can't cross the gaming floor. Well, the design of a casino on purpose is to cross the gaming floor to get to restaurants. But I have a back entrance to the steakhouse by my ballroom and banquet space. So I got to circumvent that little thing and work within the regulation.
It's going to be the backdoor VIP entrance.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's kind of come in the back, almost speakeasy style, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But we're the first ones. Nobody else is doing it, so I'm taking advantage of it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, my friend. I know you'll go to, and I really admire that you don't put your heads down, you put your heads up, and you're showing others. Then it is about time to open and to do some business. We're all dying for it. I'm very anxious to do that, and that's why the Zoom meeting are new to us. For the past month, we're doing it, but it really gets me the chance to keep in touch with you guys, and it's so very important for us. For the motivation to continue to do what we do, continue to talk to our winemakers, to get the support from the winery, to communicate with our client, find out where you are, what you do. So I really, really do appreciate the support, and also I really do appreciate that you taking the leads and reopening Carson City. Go for it. I'm all behind you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it, Bruno. That means a lot. I'm telling you, great wine. I'll tell you, I did think, here I am in the morning drinking wine like this, and who does that remind me of going like this? It's time for wine, right?
Yeah.
John Noel's going through his withdrawals right now. It's 11 o'clock, right? So
that's right. Thank you, Cole. Really appreciate the food pairing. Now we have somebody else from Los Angeles. It's Sam. Sam is at Custa in Venice. It's amazing cheese store, wine shop in my local neighborhood, owned by Jan and Tina, a dear friend of mine for many years. And Sam, this is their wine and cheese specialist, going to every Friday is preparing a little cheese pairing for us. Obviously, we don't have the chance to try the cheese right now, which I'm desperate, but I'm only 2 blocks away, so I will figure it out. Especially for now. But Sam, what did you prepare for us with this wine? What did you feel about the wine, and what did you choose those cheese?
Yeah, so the wine was open last night. It really got a chance to open up. Really, really beautiful stuff. I was just talking to everyone how we just had another blend that was Syrah Viognier that I was not into, and it sort of was like, okay, well, like, that's it for California Syrah for me. So I'm really happy that I got to have something so wonderful, and I really appreciate how, you're going about the natural farming and production of wine. But we've got a little spread here. So firstly is Lincolnshire Poacher. It's an English cheddar from Neal's Yard Dairy. It's a little sweeter, a little nuttier, not more mild, but just a bit more balanced than your typical cheddar, not as buttery. Here we've got Brabant or Goat's Gouda from Holland. You get that kind of nutty saltiness you expect from a Gouda, but with a bit more sort of fruit notes and kind of strawberry sweetness and softness to it that really works with the flavors in the wine. And lastly, we couldn't have a California wine without a California cheese. This is a Big Rock Blue from Central Coast Creamery, and it is an electrically strong blue cheese, very fruity and sweet at the front, and a really just kind of harsh, vegetal, intense finish. And the herbaceous elements of this wine, sort of tobacco at the very tail, and dryness, and the tannic structure really works well with the flavors in this. So happy with how these cheeses all tasted with this wine, and really looking forward to drinking more from Kale.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really do. Thank you. Great pairing. Yeah, my mouth is watering right now. I want to get some cheese with this wine. It's definitely the right time. I also love this wine with charcuterie. I love this wine with ham. Last night I was telling you I did have a Neribico, and I sliced very thin, and with dry cheese as well. So it was a perfect combination. I believe those wines are definitely complex and amazing. We are here obviously as old trade, so I have to talk for a sec about prices and special deal because you're here. So the people that are online right now will have a chance to actually get this wine at a special deal. Maybe that will be very intriguing for you, Sarah. Sarah from Vino Volo in Los Angeles, LAX. I'm going to share those prices with you, and you will tell me what you feel. Obviously, this one is on SRP, so suggestion retail price is obviously very small production of Syrah and Grenache, 91.1 Spectator, 2014 vintage, case of 12. We're talking about SRP on the shelf at $49. That's the suggestion retail price. Then we have those in our portfolio at $33.65 a bottle, I believe. Obviously, we're here to help. We're here to pass on the good deals to you because you're here supporting the business. We have a special deal for the next week. 1 week only is going to be $27.60 instead of $33. So that is case one. You're getting another $5 kickback here. So at $27.60. You gave me 3 cases, and I know how difficult it is these days to have a large inventory. But if you do want to take a great opportunity and make a lot of money with this wine, we'll be ready to give you that at $25 for 3 cases. And then if you're a steakhouse like Court, or you have a bigger venue, and you feel that it's a great wine to make a lot of money, which it really is, for me personally, I really think can be a great wine. We'll be ready to give you a 5 cases deal at $20 a pop. It's 40% discount of what the original price is on the front line. $20, 5 cases, 3 cases at $27. And we are going to a first case at $27, 3 cases at $25, 5 cases at $20. That will be your special deal because you're all supporting the business right here from us. And it's obviously not just coming from Regency and not just coming from Hillside. It's also a huge support from Kale and Kale Anderson, his family's Ranco. They've always been a huge supporter of our business, and we're a supporter of their business. So it's a win-win situation here. Again, we're here to represent small growers, small producers making exceptional wine. It takes some guts, I have to tell Kale in person in the front of everyone, to make only Grenache, Syrah, Rhone. I call that the super Rhone category. He is the king of super Rhone for me. I love my Hermitage, I love my Croz Hermitage, I love my Cornas, my Côte Rôtie. But when I taste wine from Kale about 5 years ago, we keep talking to each other, and I was keeping drinking his wine. I was like, it has to be in my portfolio. It has to be something I can represent. This guy is just amazing. So thank you again. Sarah, I didn't give you the word on that, but what did you think about those prices for your store? Do you have any of this super Rhone category on your shelf right now? Obviously, we all know we're on a soft reopening. The business is not huge right now, but let's say that we're out of this nightmare, and we're having thousands and thousands of people going through the airport in LAX. Do you think it's the right representation of Sonoma? And do you think the Super Rhone and the Grenache and Syrah do have an advantage to be on the shelf? And what do you think about the $49 retail?
Yeah, we definitely do a lot of blends, especially coming up with summer. And I think this would be perfect for like a barbecue blend or a barbecue red flight. I got a lot of kind of barbecue notes when I was tasting it last night. And then I was going to taste it this morning with you guys, but airport security drama stuff. So anyways, wasn't able to bring it in today, but I did have it last night. Yeah, definitely love the acidity on it. When we do, as I said, as we do usually, when we usually go into summer, we do like to bring on kind of bigger reds, which I think this would actually fit pretty perfectly for on our retail. It's a little high for our wines by the glass, but when we can start buying again.
Remember, $20. That's the whole purpose, to have a premium by the glass. But I'm not here to make any sales. I'm here to just present the program and for you to take advantage. I really appreciate that, Sarah, for your feedback on that. I believe maybe we have a question from Cole. So Cole, you're obviously not testing the wine right now, but did you have a chance to test the wine last night? Do you have anything that you want to share with us? Or, and if I may ask, where are you traveling? You're on vacation already?
We are heading up to Paso Robles.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's nice. It's nice to get out of town.
Yeah.
We have, I didn't open it last night. I should have opened it last night. He was at the restaurant really late until like 10 o'clock. And, but I'm looking forward to opening it. I'm really interested in all of your notes and really in the winemaking process. And I'm interested in that AVA right on the border of Sonoma and Napa. It's, yeah, I'm really excited to try it.
Appreciate that. Well, enjoy that. Even if you're in Paso Robles, try to test this one over the weekend and let us know what you think about it. Really appreciate the support, really do. So obviously, I really believe that we went through. Do you have any question for Kale? So this is the right time. If everybody has any question for this great young winemaker. Actually, how do you stand when the people say, "Hey, I saw you in the magazine. You were named best younger winemaker of the year"? Is it something and bring over some sparks to you? I mean, how do you handle the hat to be the best youngest winemaker of California?
Oh, I had I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, it's funny being, you know, one of the younger winemakers and you know, in my you know, in my profession, you know, people are like, you know, are you 21 yet? Like, you know, are you okay to drink? You know, maybe we shouldn't pour you this.
And the answer is, I'm making wine for 20 years.
You know, yeah, I know. It's incredible to think that this is actually my 20th vintage this year. So I'm thankful that I found what I wanted to do early on. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I like to be, you know, behind the scenes and, you know, working with my hands. And I'm just happy that I can do that and I can share, you know, my passion with everybody else. You know, I'm just thankful that I'm able to.
Kale, I just want to chime in and say how fun it is to represent you as well. You know, I've had several clients who's changed their wine list, put in, you know, Super Rhone into their wine list, and it's just fun to, you know, help out the little guy. You know, so thank you for what you make and keep it coming, and can't wait to keep trying new.
Yeah, no, thank you for having our wines and supporting us and preaching the gospel. I mean, you know, it's because of you guys that we get to, I can support my winemaking habit.
That's great.
We're here to support your habit.
Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, when you were talking about the risks that you take in winemaking, and what does that really look like to you? What are the risks? And the potential outcomes of those risks? Sure.
So that's a good question. So I mean, well, I'll start with you know, from ground to bottle. So first thing is planting Syrah instead of Cabernet. That's that is not the main cash crop in this area, and working with partners who are willing to plant less popular varieties than Cabernet. You know, that's a risk in and of itself. You know, another big risk is, you know, for instance, dry farming. It's hard to convince old school farmers that we're focused on quality rather than quantity. and just making sure that our contracts are aligned, so they're not trying to overcrop our vineyards, and they're willing to do things like dry farming. Another risk is, that we take in the winery by not adding things that are normally added at different parts of the process. Letting the native yeast run its course rather than, adding a yeast where we know what the fermentation profile looks like, that we know that it's that it will finish fermentation to dryness. We're dealing with an organism, when we do a native fermentation, that we don't know what it is. We know that it's Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but we don't know what strain it is. We don't know if it's going to, hopefully, if the vineyard is farmed well and sustainably, that the native yeast that come in on the fruit are positive yeast. They're good organisms to complete the fermentation. And you really only learn that with trial and error. I've worked with vineyards where, if the native fermentation starts going, it's like, oh no, you don't want that native fermentation. It's either a VA producer, it might be a sulfite producer. It might not want to go to dryness. It might not want to eat all the sugar and turn it into alcohol. It might not have a alcohol tolerance. When you get some yeast, if you get over 13%, the yeast start to poop out. So these are the risks that you take. And then working with the same vineyard for a while, you understand what the risks are over time, so you can make the right decisions the following year. This is the 2014 vintage. 2009 was our first vintage. I can tell you I tried to do a native fermentation with the 2011 vintage. Not a good idea. I ended up adding yeast mid fermentation because I realized that what was fermenting was not what we wanted to be fermenting. So yeah, that's some risks and rewards. Now, when you are able to take those risks and things turn out nicely, you end up with amazing floral characteristics. You can also end up with really.
Have you ever had it go really badly?
Yeah, hopefully, when things start going the wrong way, you intervene quickly, and that's my job. Number one, make sure that we make wines that are good and that we can sell. But also, if wines do go sideways, either in the fermentation process or in the aging process, for that matter, we'll use blending to kind of correct things, and declassification. If this barrel is not as good as that barrel for whatever reason, we'll end up declassifying, and then that's right off of the bottom line. So these are the risk rewards that we take. 2011 is another good example where I declassified multiple barrels because I had some barrels that didn't go the way that I wanted them to go, and they didn't make the final cut. 2017 is another example. When we had the fires, I wasn't able to harvest Kick Ranch in 2017 because we had the wine country fires in Napa and Sonoma counties. The fire burned through the vineyard, unfortunately, in 2017 down a ravine. So yeah, it's farming. There's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah, so that makes the beautiful all the more special.
Yeah.
I really believe also this is like a chef. You need to adapt for what you're getting as far as product. So you always in a constant of never put yourself in the ground, say, I know this is the same recipe every year. This is not a good winemaker need to be. The good winemaker need to observe. They need to analyze, see what's going on around him, the environment, the evolution of the tank. And every vintage, even if we do more irrigation in California, it's still challenging. taking over also making wine with dry farming is another challenge on the top of it, meaning that you're trusting your growers. So I really appreciate what you do up there, guys. Chef, but also winemakers. You're like, you know, we give you product, we give you a material, we give you a product, and you actually know how to get together to make a magnificent product. So really do appreciate that. I don't want to keep everybody going because obviously we try to keep this under 1 hour. So I don't know where we are right now, but I know we're doing pretty good. I really love to do those Zoom meetings. We will resume next week. We will let you know what it is, or the week after. I want to thank everyone to support the program. I want to thank everyone to be part of